Yes. Okay. So fortunately, they're gonna edit fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can start.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Zimbini here, CEO of the Brand Power Company. I did promise that I'm going to bring you some guests, wonderful women of power. We'll have different conversation. And my first guest is a sister of mine, Minah Koela. She's an incredible woman, mom of 4 boys, and the CEO and leader of an organization called The Beautiful Gate.
I'm Minah Koela, and I lead an organization called Beautiful Gate, South Africa. It's based in Philippi, in Lower Crossroads in Cape Town. We actually like a community-based Christian organization that is based in Philippi. So we've got like three, 4 main pillars. Child health. We used to be an HIV home, orphanage. So we now work in the department and the clinic, support the clinic with the children who are still HIV positive, support mothers, support the families, and have teen clubs. And then we have an education program. Our education program is an after-school program where we work with the kids from grade R to matric, even post-matric. We're actually part of youth development, economic development, because we get young people who need a meaningful gap year in their lives, and then they become tutors and supporters of these kids. And then we have one of our core, I call it Iziko, because it's the family strengthening program. Family strengthening program works with the families and their children, and we have about 29 child and youth care workers that work in the community, visit kids, help with ideas. In the afternoons, they have like safe parks, but also we have what we call parenting courses, where we are helping parents to say, how can you be a better parent? But obviously we realize that we also have, like in the parenting course, we also family strengthening, we have about 90 orphans that we take care of. We have child-headed homes. And then we had all these kind of things. And then we thought last year, what can we do in terms of sustainability? How can we just keep on giving food parcels? And just like after the parents have done with the parenting course, normally they would be like, and then let's create Impilo. Impilo in Xhosa is not just about health, it's about empowerment, it's about the holistic vibe of a human.
Wow.
You know? So we have a program called Impilo. Impilo is really looking at first the 2 weeks of therapeutic work. Why are you not able to work?
Wow.
Why are you stuck? Why are you doing this? And then we work with you so that, because I think like a lot of people, it's because someone is depressed, not because it's clinical depressed, but they are stuck. They can't move forward. So Impilo does that. And then we have partnered with other organization called Job Journey, where we help people to look at their job. And then once they're done with that course, there is another course where it's entrepreneurship. You remember in our time, not that we are that old, there was a sense of people having their own businesses in the townships.
That's right.
And then so we have this program called Get Hope. The Get Hope is like, it's got a little bit of discipleship, a little bit of business, and helping women. We partner with an organization, say when women rise, the world rises with them.
I mean, there's so much from what you said, but I'm just loving, I think, what you're talking about in terms of Beautiful Gates. And our members will remember that our theme for this month is Know Your Power. But it's not just, from what you're talking about, it's not just you knowing your power, but it feels to me like there's so much of who you are that you are putting back into the community so that they know their power.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back, because I want to know a little bit about Minah.
You want to know about me?
I want to know about you.
I was passionately telling you about the organization, trying to run away to know about me.
No, I want to know about you. So, I mean, because for you to give of yourself, there's a process, I imagine, of you knowing yourself and knowing your power to be able to carry yourself in such a way that you can give yourself back to the community. Yeah. You grew up in Philippi.
Yeah.
You grew up in Philippi in the 80s.
Yeah.
And many of us who know South Africa in the 80s, that couldn't have been an easy upbringing.
Yeah. No.
Yet you are here now. So maybe if you can just take us through
who Minah is.
Yeah. Your struggles, your triumphs, your self-assessment, your self-awareness, and your knowledge of what your power is that allows you to give so much of yourself back to the community of Philly?
That's such a loaded question. But I think I like that idea because I think I was born in Gugulethu.
All right.
Yes, darling.
Okay,
Gugulethu sounds very French. I was born in Gugulethu in the 70s.
Without telling your age?
Without telling my age, and actually stayed with my grandparents. And then my parents were one of the first people who moved to Crossroads, old Crossroads. Philippi, where we are, is actually sort of like newish. It was like there in the late 80s, 87, 88. So,
by the way, this is Cape Town.
This is Cape Town.
Zanzi, Africa. We're talking about townships
the most beautiful city.
Where God lives.
And then when there was like this like chaotic times in South Africa, I asked my parents that we moved to the Eastern Cape. And then we moved to the Eastern Cape. And then in 1986, I was like, village life is not my thing. I said to the brothers, I am going to spy the land. If I don't come back next week, you follow.
Really? So you had that much influence even as a young child?
I did.
That you were able to move an entire family. They must follow you.
I said, listen. So I asked, can we go to the Eastern Cape for school so that we finish? I liked school when I was young, but also I was curious about politics. So then there was like the time of Black Power. And then I was like, I asked if we can go to the Eastern Cape because the Eastern Cape didn't have the riots and all those kind of things.
Right. Because we had the homelands.
We had the homelands. And then I had to have the citizen of, even though I was born here, citizen of like Transkei.
So
have you letter written to be invited back?
Right.
We will talk about that. That's a different conversation.
When
I came to Cape Town, my dad was in Crossroads, but my mom had moved to Khayelitsha. And then my mom was not as strict as my dad. So I was like, we're moving to the other side. So I went to my mom's house and invited my brothers to come and stay in Khayelitsha with my mom and dad. And then obviously my parents divorced at the time. At 19, I had a kid. Mm-hmm. At 21, I had a second one.
Oh!
I failed matric.
You were living the not so righteous life.
No. I failed matric. And then, and my mom looked at me and said, like, you went and opened your legs and you're gonna take care of yourself. I tried to go to those like afternoon schools, but it was hard because my firstborn was premature. And then I decided when I come back from school, this afternoon school, I'm going to sell mkombo. I had a little bit of a business. I was a shebeen queen. I'm
going to be a Sangoma I now have a child, so I need to be a shebeen queen.
Exactly. A friend of mine was going to church, said that their church were looking for a youth leader. Remember, girl, English is limited at the time. I didn't know that. She said I was going overseas. Then I thought, I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to be an actress. This is my break in life. And then she says, we're taking you to Kalkbai. Remember, the beaches and everything like that were closed to us. So I didn't know where we're going. She's like, because you can sing and you can dance and you can act, I think you're going to make it. I didn't know it was a Christian thing. So I ended up in YWAM, and then in YWAM, 2 months down the line, I became a Christian.
Okay.
And I think that's where like almost like a second part of a transformative change happened to me. I didn't speak English. I didn't know what to do. And then I said, the minute I became a Christian, I said, I'm going to buy myself an English Bible to learn English. I saw my journal when I took over at Beautiful Gate. I wrote in my journal that I want, if God was active and really he is he who he says he is,
right.
If he saves me, my desire is to go back and work with my family. With my people.
Right.
And at the time it was Khayelitsha, other than where actually the rest of my family, I grew up in my roots of who I am in Philippi.
Right.
And then like I got married and then we were pastors and because I'm a pioneer, I went to the bishop of the time. I said, listen, we don't have any literature in Xhosa. So can I translate your book from English to Xhosa? I don't think that was a good English, but I tried, okay? And then I had this desire of like, there was so much access, and there's still a lot of access into Christian literature in non-African languages. And I was like, I had this desire.
And why was this important, by the way? Why was it
because I just became,
journey?
I think for me, the journey was important because I had become a Christian.
Yes.
There was nothing to help me. I come from a completely Sangoma family. So I
Yes.
don't have any reference of Christian books and what it means to be a Christian. How do you walk? And then there were a lot.
Was this part of your self-discovery?
That
was
was-
this part of you
Empowering.
trying to establish who you are?
I think at the time I didn't think. I thought I was just being myself.
Right.
I don't think I had a language to say what I was doing.
What you were trying
but
to
I was more
establish.
interested in like this. The rest of the people have access to these books, but my people don't have. And then if they come to faith, what else do they have other than the Xhosa Bible?
Yes.
Because there were no books, and actually the ultimate questions helps you to understand and figure out what it means to come to faith in Jesus. When I got married, then I was involved in the church, and then I ended up like with a researcher from England. And then she came and asked, and then I was irritated with her questions because I was like, what are these questions? Because they were not speaking to me. And then the more we were asking questions, the more she was like, And then we ended up like starting like a pioneering, being a research assistant. And then we would like drive for hours and asking questions. And
Wow,
there was-
that's such an amazing process of discovery.
yeah, but at the same time, I didn't think it was a process of discovery because I was just like being myself. My husband lost his job, and then I wanted to apply for Desmond Tutu Foundation, but I didn't have matric.
Oh yes, there's that story.
And I was
That backstory.
now I have all the experience of being a research assistant. I have all these things and information and stuff like that. And then like at that year, my firstborn and my secondborn were first day at university.
Wow.
And then I was so mad.
At your past decisions, I imagine.
I was so mad. And you must remember, I never failed. The first time I failed was in matric. And that set me into a spiral of not trusting my like whether I'm intelligent or not. And then I decided I was stupid from that day.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I was good in maths, I was good in English and science, and I was like in the Eastern Cape, like when we started, I was in the top 3. I came to Kailicha schools, and then I ended up in Mandela High. And I was doing well until I was pregnant.
Until you
Then I failed, and then I decided I spent almost like 20 years of my life saying that I was dumb.
From one
mistake.
And we'll talk about mindsets and beliefs. Because it speaks to a mindset and a belief that drove you for 20 years. You continue to pioneer, by the way.
And I didn't think it
because
was
it's who you
important.
are.
And at the same time, I didn't think of myself as anybody. And also like I was kind of like a wife supporting the house. So I didn't almost have my own identity, but I had my identity underground. We'll talk about that another time.
Right.
Then I decided to do a night school.
Nice.
Hey, change all the subjects.
From maths and science.
I was like, you know what? I am no longer clever in maths and science, and I'm not trying to be a doctor anymore, nor an engineer. So let's just get this paper so that I can continue with this job of mine. I didn't
Love that pivot. I love that because it's a redemption.
I was like, listen, I don't know these things. Then I changed. I did business economics.
Nice.
And then I did
And how old were you? Just
40 years, girl.
There might be someone
I
in
was
the
40
audience
years.
who has had this dilemma.
40 years. I had a Lat Lameki, and my 2 boys were at the UCT, and I was starting.
40 years you did your matric.
I was 40 years. Because I could see doors open. It didn't matter what experience I had. I didn't have that
There
piece
was a
of
minimum
paper.
qualification.
Because I didn't have that piece of paper.
Wow.
I've done courses in YWAM. Because the degrees and the things in YWAM were not part of the South African system, it didn't matter those things.
So now you've passed your matric
I've passed my matric
in
well.
6 months. You've
In
passed
6
it well.
months.
So let's just take it back. You're driven from a young age. You have purpose from a young age. You pivot because life throws you curveballs, but you decide, you know what? The core of who you are carries you to the future. 40 years old, which apparently is most people get a new lease in life. You decide your lease, you're going to go through a process of redemption because the system, and there's a system. The system requires X from you. Doesn't matter the experience, doesn't matter the knowledge, doesn't matter the wisdom. You need your matric. Then you get to matric and you get to Minah still Minah. Minah still feisty. Minah is still a woman of power, and Minah still knows from a young age the people you want to serve are the Xhosa people of Philippines.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's the fundamental thing.
Yeah.
That all this time, from translating Christian books that are written in English, you don't know why you want them translated, but you want them to speak to you and your people.
Yeah, and actually I wanted, like, because I grew up, like, I became a Christian just after Mandela came out.
Right.
And then I read the passage, how can you say you love God whom you have not seen, and then you hate your brother?
Right.
And the desire for cross-cultural communities also grew.
So you know your power at this
Yeah.
point. At least you know your talents, you know your gifts. You've gone through a process of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And this process, to me, sounds like it was just haphazard.
Oh, no, I did outsource the transcribing because it was not my thing. I'm like, I'll pay you to do it because I can't sit here and listen to people and type. I was like, no.
Okay, so then you go to GSB.
I go to GSB, and there is no way that they must take me. They could take
So,
me.
because this is the Graduate School of Business. This is post...
Excuse me, the number one in Africa, darling. Me, I never seen the
doors of a university.
No,
Of a higher education.
I saw when I dropped the child, and then they wanted RPL. They wanted all these sorts of things. Your sister doesn't have the money to go, ne? And I'm older, cannot get bursary with the
Right, because you're over 40.
I'm over 40. Even though I'm previously disadvantaged, and currently at disadvantage because I didn't have anything.
But there's the youth.
I am
There's
also
the future
youth. Our youthism was killed. They owe us. The government owes us.
We'll talk about entitlement in another session, or maybe today.
This is not even entitlement. We fought for them.
Okay.
Now we are the forgotten generation.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do about the 70s and the 60s? How do you empower them? But that's
And because it's an interesting story, because you missed out on key elements of your academic progress.
And also the bursaries.
Right.
And the things that could, because either you were fighting or you were prevented from going to school.
Or you were minor and you were flying.
Hustling.
Which is quite different to fighting for freedom. But okay. Okay. If you insist.
The schools were closed, because then you are busy.
Right.
I was busy flying, girl.
Instead of, okay.
But I was taken at UCT. I made it in.
Wow, because of your experiences, I imagine, especially experiences in research.
Yeah, I think like I had like all these nice, I had all my Americans and British writing and the professors at UCT and my work.
Right. And what did you apply for?
It's a postgraduate diploma in business innovation.
Wow.
And then I specialized in leadership innovation.
Okay.
Because I've always decided I'm a leader.
Well, you took your family to the Eastern Cape and back. Yes, you were a leader.
Oh, no, I was always gathering. I'm a gatherer. When I became a Christian, I started a church with children in my and then on Sunday we'll walk. So I've always been like a pioneer.
Right.
And I passed. There were a lot of young people, and I felt like I was the old one, and I persevered, and I would leave my family and stayed with a friend of mine in town because I knew that if I'm at home, I'm not going to focus, and I was determined to pass. Mm-hmm. And I did it.
Wow.
And I think from there, I think I regained my confidence.
Amazing. Which had been stolen from you
20
for 20 years. Because of a mindset and a belief that you held about yourself.
Yeah, I don't know.
And about failure.
About failure. Because I don't know if you grew up in the Eastern Cape, villages. So if you pass, sometimes I was the only one who passed, and they would slaughter this sheep. My dad always decided the sheep because we're a lot of people, and then you are the first one. So there was almost like that glorification. I think maybe if I think of it as a Christian now, I think God needed to bring me to the ground.
To humility.
But obviously, Satan also made it as a way to continue to put me down. I had to get out of it. What kind of things that actually should be available to women leaders
who were born in a specific time and who didn't, but we will talk about
who are making changes in the lives of others.
Yeah.
Because I think, and also how do university open up spaces that are relevant for different people? I mean,
how do you chase your passion
Yeah.
and kind of regain lost ground at an older age?
And also the question that I keep on having, what has taken us to think that on the paper makes people to be able to be successful? When we had a generation of people that didn't have opportunities, what happens to general and natural knowledge? How do we encourage that with the culture of verbal or storytelling? How do we get that? But at the same time, for me, it was very important. I mean, like, I'm not ashamed to say, like, actually, in my 40s, I had to go to school.
To do matric.
To do
not just
matric.
go to school, not higher education.
No higher
You
education,
had
to do matric, to rewrite from 19 don. I'm not going to say.
No, it's okay.
And then you go back and then you look at everyone in the room and you see dynamics and you think, am I going to pass? And then you have to hustle between work and say, I'm going to write, and anxiously waiting for that matric results to come out, you know? And when you see that piece of paper, the liberation that you get inside to say, I've made something. And I think for me, it has been one of those steps that have pushed me to say, actually, it's possible.
So I want to talk about now, because now we've gone through most of the journey. Before we get to Beautiful Gates, because Beautiful Gates is an unveiling.
Yeah.
It's a different unveiling. Before we get to Beautiful Gates, in your however many years, this past journey before Beautiful Gates, what would be the 3 words that you think are your power words in terms of who Minah is? You've mentioned a few that if you miss it, I'll challenge you on it. You've mentioned 1 or 2. So, but what would be your 3 key words on who Minah is, given the triumphs and the challenges and just your journey as you've described it now?
I'm a learner.
Wow.
I learn from
You're
my mistakes.
curious.
I'm very curious. The funny thing about me, I fall and I know that I need to get up and try again. So I don't stay on the ground.
These are wonderful. It's a wonderful knowledge of who you are. And of these things, which do you think is nature, i.e. you were born with, and which of them do you think is because of circumstances, or do you think it's nature which is nurtured by circumstances?
I think it's that. I think many things you learn. I think learning the part of someone said what did they say? Tenacity. And I don't give up easily. I get deflated
And discouraged.
But when I rise, I would
rise.
Yeah, because I think I've always, even when I was younger, I mean, as I say, like I was always navigating things and trying to figure out things to get out of something. I think it's both. And I think as you grow older, you have then to have the knowledge of what you have, and also have the knowledge of what is it that you need to do in order to nurture what you have.
Which is inside of you.
Which is inside of you, because sometimes you can go with your brain. When you fail like that, if you have like what I had when I was young, it's easy to say, I'm nobody. But it's also easy to say, actually, I need to continue to learn. And then in life, I would fail. But when I fail, what do I do?
So now I think we're getting to our close. And our close is going to speak to something that's very dear to you, which is the empowerment of others. So in the empowerment of others, I also want to know what the challenges you've had, because I know that you're giving of yourself. And we've heard the passion that you have for your community and holding a space for others. So Beautiful Gates and empowering others, because you're not only empowering your team.
I'm empowering the community.
Yeah.
I'm empowering the children. I'm empowering myself. As a leader, you can't empower others if you yourself are not going through the same journey of saying, how do I do this best? How do I care for my community? How do I care for my staff? How do I empower them to change? Because I think in an NGO, people are working sometimes. In the interview, everyone says, I have passion for children.
Yes.
It's like someone says, I'm working for ShopRite. I love people. And then you say, hello, sister. So as a leader, I need to be like those eyes and model. It's about modeling what it means to empower yourself, what it means to help people understand that it's not just work. And I think like sometimes because we are in a power position, or you are employed and then people are down, you look at them and down, and you don't think of, we are there to create and shift the culture. So what does shifting the culture mean? It means that I'm helping my staff not to shout at people. I'm helping my staff to play with children. You know how fed I am. But I will play with the kids, because empowering is modeling. But because I'm aware that whatever I'm doing, I'm in role models to the young girls of the organization and the community and the women, I'm pioneering a space for women to say it is possible. So how I present myself and how I walk alongside you is an important part. And then on my way home, sometimes I have this conversation about the conversations that I have had. And sometimes we have to go back and say, I'm so sorry to talk to you like that.
Yes, it didn't quite come out the way I meant.
Exactly. And sometimes standing with all the 100 staff and say, this has happened and I did this and I'm sorry.
Wow, that takes humility.
And I remember feeling so tired and also realizing that I'm not open as a leader to people to say I'm not doing well.
Wow.
And remember clearly,
because you just wanted things to work.
Because you want to present this, I've got it all right. I'm here. I deserve to be here. Yeah, I'm efficient. I'm not like struggling. And I remember clearly, I drove my car with the boot wide open.
Because you were just preoccupied.
Because I was really down, and God gave me this passage. Those who wait upon the Lord, He shall renew their strength. And for the first time, I broke down as I was teaching the staff, telling them of how exhausted as I was, and how I haven't opened up myself for them to support me and love me and care for me. I've been busy with everybody else except myself. And one lady said, I've never had a leader that opens up like that and say that in our community that they were tired and they are stressed. And the love and the encouragement, but also the permission.
So that they can be the same.
They can be the same. One of the things I had to also come across and understand, I was like, I'm not a man. I'm not going to lead like a man. And I need to give myself a permission. You know, we're known as women.
To be Minah.
To be Minah and to be a woman, to be emotional, to be
loud,
laughing,
to be Xhosa.
To be, you know what I mean? And as I was doing that, because I was like, when you are struggling as a woman, I need to be able to care. You know, when the African culture is about relationships, the Western culture is about task. To be able to say, I'm relational, but I need a task person to help me to both, that there is a balance. And I think that has been difficult, but also to say to my team that when you are not doing well, can we talk about what is it that you want to do? I remember they took us to the community, and I was so stressed, and I had to preach about it is by grace you've been saved. And they didn't know that I knew that they've taken us. And I preached, and afterwards, the following day, I had a conversation. I said to them, I'm not here to say, why did you go? I'm here to hear you. What are your issues? And they all spoke. I said, but do you understand the processes of the organization before you go outside? Why didn't you come to me? These are the structures. You might have felt that we're not heard there, but you didn't come to me. Do you remember that I came to you and then gave you a timeline? And that timeline hasn't ended. I said, at the end of the day, I said, this is how we should be as God's people. I know that not everyone is born again here, but if we feel that when we have issues, we must go outside, I'm losing trust in you. I'm looking at you that you are my enemy, and I don't want that. I want us to be able to say, we might not agree, but we can talk to Sis Minah. So it's important to say, I've heard you, I'll come back to you.
And then and walk away.
And walk away. And then in your walk away, think about it. Do I need others to be involved? Is it something that
I can handle?
Are they just being irritating? Or am I irritated? Did they trigger something in me that made me to be irritated?
Am I overreacting? Am I justifiably angry?
And
which
then,
is it?
Yeah. And then even if I'm angry, am I aware that I took a shower before I went to work and my husband made me coffee, drove in the car while they walked, saw someone being stabbed or robbed, on their weave was taken, and by the time they came to work, they were angry?
Because you don't know their situation.
Then
we don't know why they did what they did.
Exactly. But knowing what I am, driving near the beach, thinking of the sea breeze, playing my Maverick City music in Jesus, and getting to my office. So
you're in a different space.
Exactly. So when I engage, I need to be aware. So we have this thing at work, when I have meetings, asking a question, how are you coming in?
Right, love that.
How are you coming in this morning?
And
then in the beginning, they used to be, oh, she's doing her white things. Now they like it. Because what it does, it takes the problem on the floor.
And then you deal with it, and
then we talk about other things, and learning. Again, I think it's beautiful as a person to learn from different cultures, the processing, the thinking,
and not even different cultures, not even cultural sometimes. We are wired differently.
We are, but I was we're taking I'm taking Bergfried to Philippi. So how do those match and understanding, and also we the Xhosas, we like to speak loud, and sometimes it's like
overbearing for others. It's
really
hard.
Everyone feels so. Helping people to say let's try to cool it. Also, try to hear what the person is saying and not how it comes, and help each other to navigate. So self-regulation is something like that, where you as a leader, knowing your power. If I stand, by the virtue of me standing in a meeting, I'm exerting power. So what I'm going to say needs to diffuse the situation so that people can hear you and create a space of engaging, which we have it in the African culture, that we are but I will make a decision. And also learn to say, I'm sorry. Most of our parents, that's sweets. Not to call. Teaching those kind of things. Say, you see these things that you are learning at work, they're important for you to experience at home and teach them at home. So I think Kunala.
So there's no separation, because we don't value sometimes, and maybe because the workspaces we find ourselves in tend to be transactional.
Yes.
They are not equipping from a personal growth perspective. But what you are describing here is a very, very unique workspace, which is probably Beautiful Gates, but maybe more minor.
We hope so.
We hope so.
We hope it's both.
So and I think maybe for some people here who are not leaders of 100 people,
even if it's 10.
No, first it's self-leadership. Doesn't even have to be 10.
Yeah.
There's a leadership of self.
Yeah.
Then there's a leadership of a dog.
Yes.
Or a cat. And then there's a leadership of a child. There's a leadership of the help that comes to clean once a week. Then there's leader. We underestimate that there's not a single individual on this earth who's not a leader, because they first have to be a leader of self. And the principles you're talking about are not leadership. If you can lead yourself, you can lead 2, you can lead 100, you can lead 1,000, obviously through training and growth. But the principles you're talking about of self-regulation, of being self-aware, and of piloting, or at least bringing yourself out as a leader for those to follow. Anyone who's following you at any different point in time, you are leading. And these concepts are equally important. So I just thought to say that, so that we're not limited by the grandeur of Minah's leadership.
No.
Because Minah's leadership is different to mine, and it's different to someone else who's leading a 4-year-old.
For example, I'm a people's leader. I'm not a administrative type thing. So when I was invited at Beautiful Gate, I was like, listen, I will take the job. I need a white PA because my English is English. So I'm not going to. I was like,
I'm not going to be able to write.
I said I can say the English. I can articulate talking, but I'm more upfront than. The only time that I'm quiet is like when I'm reflecting and I'm thinking. But to sit and write minutes in a proper English when I went to school in an old age is not going to work. I was very clear, because I think for us, anyone, self-knowledge is a very important thing.
That's right. Knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses.
Knowing your weaknesses, because I said to them, I love people, I will engage people, I will work the room. But there are things that needs to be sent. There are things that needs to be written.
Newsletters.
But even in the newsletter, if you've read newsletters of Beautiful Gate, I'm using the cultural aspects of things.
Because you articulate.
Yes,
someone else
like sometimes Cindy writes, I'm like, Cindy, this is English, this is too much, this is not me. How can you write like people are gonna, But having that relationship built with her, because she was writing, I was like, sister, this is like
too much English.
This is from England, it's not working. But I need someone like Cindy, and I said she needs to be a person of faith, so that we can pray together, because my job is difficult. So you need someone to say in the middle of the minutes, can we pray? I am feeling difficult. And both of us, we had to work out our cultural cultures, and be honest with each other. She would laugh. She says, like, the things that I say in the car, like, it's just like, we'll say things, but we have shaped ourselves to understand each other. She understands me, I understand her. We irritate each other. We are learning. And I think relationships can never be stagnant. Relationships, as you grow, they change. And we're coming from different worldviews.
Which is the beauty of the diversity, right?
Because I'm leading a cross-cultural organization. But luckily, in my 20s, I moved to Muizenberg. I understand. But I could not do the job that I'm doing if I didn't have someone that I send voice notes to. I write things. I said, this is my thinking. Edit. This is what I want to say. And then in the beginning, she was like, why must you greet people all the time? I'm like, because in an African culture, the relationship establishment is important. I can't get him without saying, Mono Zimbini,
how are you?
Even if I don't know you. And I think in the beginning, people were irritated. But I was like, this is who I am. I'm establishing a relationship with you. I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know how this email finds you. I'm hoping this email finds you well. And now sometimes I forget. Sometimes we're talking and then she's like, Miles, you didn't say hello.
Because now you're task driven.
Not even that, because like sometimes like I'm the night owl. So she's the morning person. So 12 o'clock, all my WhatsApps and Don are coming. From 5 o'clock, all hers. So so we've learned that if I wake up, I mustn't respond, because I'm responding as if we were talking the last message I sent, but she was sleeping. So now, we like there's a navigation of that relationship and understanding. So I think knowing that, and then I needed people that are better than me, because that is what I am. And also, you need people who are able to look at certain things with a different eye. If I get people that are like me, we will all be dancing until Jesus comes.
Nothing happens.
And then having all the emotional conversations and stuff. So you need people says like, Miles, we need to go. Like for instance, now I was in another meeting. So having her knowing the time and knowing like my phone will tell me that I have another meeting. So I think those kind of things is like, as a leader, how do you empower yourself so that you don't look. And again, we have to be aware that we didn't all have the same education and upbringing. So
and then
that is like the self-empowering of like, what is it that I need to succeed? So I said to my team at Beautiful Gate, God has brought us at Beautiful Gate to disciple, to develop, to offer grace, and be firm. When you disciple, you are changing people's lives. When you develop, you are saying that there's something better.
There's something in them.
That can be changed and that can produce something. When you offer grace, you are saying you are making mistakes.
And I'm here to carry you,
Exactly.
to catch you.
But when you are firm, you're saying, we have done these other 3 steps. Now the line must be drawn. But you can't draw the line if you haven't done the other steps.
Because tolerance is not long-winded. There's boundaries.
There must be boundaries. And I think when you're loud like me, people think you have no boundaries because you are always laughing. The kids call me Mom G or Chocolate Drop. They're like, come on, chocolate sauce. I'm like, come on. Because I want them to say there's one person or 2 people or the entire staff of Beautiful Gate treat us as humans, and they are creating an opportunity for us to be children.
But there's so much that I've drawn from this conversation, and I'm so grateful, Minah, that you are my first guest, because you and I always have amazing conversations, but there's so much depth and we share one thing in common, and that is our love for South Africa.
We love it. We love it.
We love the people, and our love to see first ourselves, then our children, and then the nation grow in what many may call enlightenment. Because the more enlightened we are, the more we can then go out and get things for ourselves because we know our power. I, for one, don't believe that there's a single person on this planet who's born without talents.
All of us are born with talent, but we have to... People like you and me and the other people that are listening here, we need to create those opportunities.
Exactly, because opportunity is what kills talent. And there's a persevering from your story. Yes, you were not born into a poor family, but you made mistakes that could have taken you.
And they made me poor, those mistakes.
Exactly, because we make choices that we don't recognize, but you got by the grace and by the virtue of what's inside of you. And the fact that you yourself chased what's inside of you so that you can come out of a situation. Yeah. And I think this is an encouragement. And there's many people who don't. Eh?
Yeah.
So that we have to be honest about. I don't know why those people don't. It's not like they don't have something inside of them, but maybe they don't have an opportunity to encounter the truth of what's inside of them. They don't have a tribe.
I think they don't have a tribe. I think a tribe is having people. Remember, I talked about why we do Imbil.
That's it.
It's someone to say there's someone who believes in me.
There is someone who sees you.
It's like when I pass the street, most of us will look on the window. You don't even want to acknowledge. But saying hi, you recognize them as a person.
That's it. So with that, this is my series with Minah. Know Your Power. She's a powerful woman.
Yes.
She'll be back.
Nkubani.
From
Gugulethu, darling.
Should you wish to partner with Minah and the children and families supported by Beautiful Gates, here are the details in the link below. And if you're a person who shops at Take-A-Lot, you can also donate R5 before you finish your payment on the site.